Prince William is standing completely alone in a dimly lit private anteroom inside St. James's Palace, his forehead pressed against a freezing cold window pane as tears quietly stream down his face. The stoic, unyielding armor he spent nearly 30 years meticulously assembling has completely vanished within the span of a single breath. The Prince of Wales is breaking down in total isolation, utterly overwhelmed by an unexpected nightmare. Just moments earlier, a high-stakes palace reception devolved into absolute chaos when his uncle, Earl Spencer, pulled up uninvited, marched right past outer security, and publicly confronted Queen Camilla in front of shocked diplomats over a priceless piece of jewelry, pinned to her chest a brooch that belonged to Princess Diana. Before we uncover the terrifying secrets behind this explosive confrontation, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss an update on these royal fault lines. The dramatic chain of events began at precisely 8:45 in the evening at the private rear entrance of St. James's Palace. A dark, high-security sedan pulled up under the cover of the evening shadows. Out stepped Earl Spencer, Princess Diana's younger brother. He did not possess an official security clearance pass for this exclusive gathering, and his name was nowhere to be found on the master guest list managed by the Lord Chamberlain's office. But here is the reality of being a peer of the realm with deep historical ties to the estate. You can slide past outer perimeter checkpoints without triggering immediate alarms, especially when the guards recognize exactly who you are, and certainly do not want to be the individuals physically blocking Princess Diana's brother from entering a palace building. So, without raising an official alert, he slipped inside. The reception inside was operating exactly as standard palace diplomacy dictates. King Charles stood near a grand fireplace, talking quietly with a European ambassador. Queen Camilla circulated gracefully through dignitaries, government officials, and art patrons. It was a cultural preservation initiative, strictly non-political, the exact kind of quiet. Controlled evening where the inner royal circle relaxes away from flashing media cameras. And then, the heavy double doors swung wide open, Earl Spencer walked in, and that carefully constructed peace dissolved into total suffocating tension. What made this intrusion so uniquely dangerous was that Earl Spencer did not follow a single rule of royal protocol. He didn't wait for a formal introduction. He didn't stand quietly in a greeting line. He walked with absolute, uncompromising purpose straight across the polished floorboards, completely ignoring stunned courtiers, and stopped just 3 feet away from Queen Camilla. The room fell into a dead, absolute silence. The clinking of crystal glasses stopped instantly. High society guests and foreign dignitaries realized they were watching an open, hostile family confrontation erupt right in front of them, and nobody knew how to stop it. The relationship between the core royal family and the Spencer line has been a psychological minefield ever since the tragic summer of 1997. Both sides had agreed to maintain a polite, distant public facade for the sake of Prince William and Prince Harry. But Earl Spencer's aggressive, unannounced entry proved that the emotional wounds surrounding his sister's legacy remained entirely unhealed. Earl Spencer is not a man known for rash or uncalculated emotional outbursts. His public actions over the decades have always been heavily weighed for maximum legal and media impact. So when he stood before Queen Camilla, raised a single-gloved hand, and pointed directly toward her left lapel, he was executing a deliberate tactical strike. He demanded an immediate public explanation as to why a specific, highly sentimental piece of private family history was being openly displayed at a public state function without the express written consent of the Spencer estate trustees. Pinned to Camilla's dress was a unique diamond and sapphire brooch that originally belonged to the Spencer family archives before being gifted to Diana on her wedding day in 1981. This piece was a cornerstone of the late princess's personal collection. A symbol of her maternal heritage, that she had worn to multiple high-profile international engagements around the globe. To Earl Spencer, seeing Camilla wear that specific bruch wasn't just a minor breach of royal etiquette. He saw it as a direct, insulting violation of his sister's legacy and a brazen infringement on his family's legal property rights. After Diana's passing in 1997, the legal ownership of her personal effects was divided under a complex, highly sensitive network of private trusts. This created a vast legal gray area regarding which specific items belonged permanently to the crown and which pieces were strictly bound to her biological descendants. When Spencer saw Camilla displaying that jewel, the tension inside the room reached a total breaking point. King Charles stepped forward urgently to intervene between his wife and his former brother-in-law. His personal protection detail immediately moved to encircle the group, attempting to form a physical human shield to block the view of remaining guests and prevent any smartphones from capturing the raw domestic dispute. Charles demanded that the conversation be moved immediately into a private office upstairs, but Spencer flatly refused to back down. He stated clearly and loudly that if the palace chooses to display private family property in public, they have to be prepared to defend that choice openly in front of the entire court. That open defiance introduced a secondary mystery that was even more damaging to the palace than the confrontation itself. The guest list for this reception had been locked down 3 weeks prior, with every invitation card coded with an individual digital signature to prevent unauthorized entry or duplication. For Earl Spencer to know the exact hour, location, and specific wardrobe details of the event, he had to have received an inside leak from someone working directly within the Central Palace Secretariat. The terrifying realization that a senior staff member was actively coordinating with the Spencer family shook the king's chief of staff to the core. It exposed a massive vulnerability at the very heart of the household's operational security. Someone inside the palace wanted this confrontation to happen, or at minimum, wanted Spencer to have the exact information he needed to execute it. As the security team finally managed to guide Earl Spencer toward a quiet exit corridor, the true emotional cost began to manifest. Prince William had stood completely frozen, just a few feet away throughout the entire exchange, watching his mother's brother openly attack his stepmother while his father struggled to maintain composure. The sudden, violent collision of his childhood trauma with his modern royal duties proved completely overwhelming. Without saying a single word to his father or the remaining guests, William turned on his heel and walked rapidly out of the room through a side door leading to the private state apartments. The heavy mahogany door of the private anteroom clicked shut with a sharp, echoing snap, cutting off the anxious hum of the compromised reception below. Prince William walked blindly toward the tall sash window overlooking the darkened courtyard, his hands trembling as he reached for the brass window latch. He leaned his forehead against the cold, damp glass, staring out into the empty London night, quietly breaking into tears, completely alone in the dim light. That breakdown highlights the agonizing dual reality William has been forced to navigate since 1997. To the global public, he is the ultimate symbol of royal stability, a steady modern leader who approaches state duties with calm clinical precision. But beneath that perfectly curated public image sits a man deeply scarred by the toxic public breakdown of his parents' marriage and the tragic loss of his mother. The crisis escalated rapidly outside the anteroom door as the king's senior private secretary arrived holding a secure internal briefing folder. The official knocked softly, hesitant to intrude upon the heir's rare moment of vulnerability, but the administrative chaos downstairs required immediate executive direction. King Charles had demanded an instant lockdown of the event's communication logs, but the palace staff was completely paralyzed, terrified to act without knowing where the future king stood on the dispute. William did not answer the door. He stayed in the shadows of the window frame, struggling to regain control over his voice before facing the bureaucratic machinery of the crown. For several years, William had maintained a strict professional working relationship with his stepmother, recognizing her vital role in supporting his father through the heavy demands of the throne. He had consistently backed Camilla during major family transitions, even supporting her elevation to queen consort during the final months of the late queen's reign. So why did the sight of his uncle confronting her cause him to retreat in absolute distress rather than stepping forward to defend the queen from a public insult? The answer to this psychological riddle lies buried within a secret pact William had made with his uncle Earl Spencer during a private gathering at Althorp House in the summer of 2024. The Prince of Wales had quietly assured his mother's family that while he would always respect the official hierarchy of the current reign, he would never allow Diana's private, sentimental artifacts to be absorbed into Camilla's public wardrobe rotation. When he walked into the reception room and saw his stepmother wearing the wedding brooch, William felt completely blindsided by his own staff's oversight. He realized the palace styling team had inadvertently violated his private promise to the Spencers, making an explosive family clash absolutely inevitable. The situation escalated when King Charles sent a handwritten note demanding Prince William's immediate return to the reception hall to present a unified family front with Camilla. The king was furious about the security breach and wanted to prove the crown remained united. William read the note, his grief turning into cold anger. He flatly refused, telling the equerry he would not participate in a staged show of harmony while his mother's memory was weaponized for PR. This blunt refusal was an unprecedented act of defiance against the king's authority. By 11 p.m., William's advisors were reviewing the 1997 probate registries to check the legal status of the sapphire jewelry. William remained composed and focused on containment, knowing a public battle would damage both the king's health and Princess Charlotte's inheritance. At 9 a.m., the Spencer family issued a strict 72-hour deadline, threatening high court action unless the diamond and sapphire brooch was removed from royal registries. They cited the Hereditary Artifacts Protection Act to shield the treasure. When royal advisors sought William's help, he did the opposite. He instructed his legal team to support the Spencer family. This move completely dismantled the palace's defense, forcing the king's advisors to back down. Now the brooch sits in a vault until Princess Charlotte turns 18, a quiet symbol of a kept promise. Will Prince William's iron will style save the monarchy or tear it apart? And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more royal updates.